Here is a scene. Zara is 28. She just got her first real job, $58,000 a year. She budgets carefully. She does not make mistakes. She sits at the dealership for 3 hours. She asks the right questions. She chooses responsibly. She drives home in a $650 a month car. 3 years later, she owes more than the car is worth. That is the problem. Right now, 42.6% of new car buyers are underwater. A record high, the average loan runs 84 months. That is not a loan, that is a subscription. The people selling it make more from the financing than from the car. We are not failing to afford cars. Cars have been engineered to make sure we cannot. The monthly payment is not for your convenience. It is for their control. It is Sunday night. Zara has her budgeting app open. A glass of water she hasn't touched. A spreadsheet rebuilt 3 times this month. She feels something rare tonight. In control. The math checks out. $58,000 a year. $3,100 take home each month. The car is $650. 21% of her income. Every article said stay under 25. She did the research. She was responsible. But go back to the day she signed. The dealership smelled like fresh coffee. The free kind. A machine by the entrance. Leather couches. Soft lighting. Not fluorescent. Not yet. They brought her water. They remembered her name. A salesperson. Then a manager. Then another. Each one patient. Each one running a very specific clock. The industry has a name for this. The grind. Keep the buyer in the building. Keep them comfortable. Keep them fed. Run out the clock. 3 hours in, the brain changes. Psychologists call it decision fatigue, the ability to evaluate degrades. Slowly, quietly, without the buyer noticing. The fluorescent lights come later, in the F&I office. By then, the couch is gone. The coffee is cold. The warmth has been replaced by paperwork. She was tired. She was grateful it was almost over. That is the design. The loan term was 84 months, 7 years. She saw it on page 4. She assumed it was standard. The rate was 14%. She had nothing to compare it to. There were add-ons, a warranty she didn't request, a paint package she didn't know was optional, gap insurance she didn't understand. Together, $3,000, buried across 6 pages, presented in the last 20 minutes. When the fatigue had done its job, 3 years later, every payment made, not one missed, she owes $6,500 more than the car is worth. She does the math every Sunday. It doesn't get better. The interest is front-loaded. The principal barely moves. Depreciation outruns every payment. Zara's discipline was the bait. The loan was the trap. She made no mistake at the dealership. The dealership made a transaction. Zara was the product. There is a room at the back. Every dealership has one. Most buyers don't know it exists. Not until they're already in it. It is called the F&I office. Finance and insurance. One desk. One person. One final step before the keys. By the time you reach that desk, the car is decided, the color, the trim. The test drive is done. You are emotionally committed. You have told your family you are tired. 3 hours of managed comfort does that. That is when the real transaction begins. The F&I manager does not process paperwork. Their job is to maximize that contract. They are trained in one specific technique. The industry calls it payment packing. Here is how it works. The buyer is anchored to a monthly number, not a total price, not a rate. A monthly number, can you do $700 a month? That question controls everything. Not whether the total is fair, not whether the rate is competitive, only whether the monthly number fits. At $700 a month, a buyer accepts 84 months. A 14% rate, a $3,000 warranty, they didn't choose. The number fits. That is the only number they were given. The average car payment is now $800. Loan terms have hit 90 months, 7.5 years. Sign today, you will still be paying in a decade. Here's the number no one says out loud. Dealers earn more from F&I than car sales. The car gets you through the door. The financing is the product. This is not a secret. It is the model. These are not car companies anymore. They are banks that happen to sell metal. The metal is the hook. The debt is the business. The industry spent $100 million lobbying. Over the last decade, that money kept the model intact. Franchise laws block direct manufacturer sales, illegal in most states. Tesla fought these laws for years. The lobby protects one thing. The desk at the back of the room, they aren't selling you a car. They are selling you debt. The car is just the collateral. If you want to see the architects clearly, join us. Subscribe to stop playing their version of the game. Like this video if the math finally makes sense. The dealer calls Zara 14 months before the loan ends. He is warm. He remembers her name. He has a deal. The timing is perfect, he says. Something newer, something safer, same $650 a month. Zara has been carrying $6,500 of negative equity for 2 years. The dealer doesn't mention it. He absorbs it, rolls it into the new loan. She now owes $48,000 on a $34,000 car she drove home feeling smart. The number fit. Multiply Zara by millions. Total U.S. auto loan debt, $1.65 trillion. Doubled in 10 years. Second largest consumer debt category. Only mortgages are higher. Defaults are at their highest since 2010. 3 million repossessions projected for 2026. 3 million, not a crisis. Expected. Planned for. Priced in. The defaults aren't a mistake. They are the hardest. Now let's do the math they don't show you at the desk. This is the total friction cost. Not just the loan, the full picture. Zara's loan payment, $650 a month. Over 84 months, $54,600 total. At 14% APR, interest paid alone, roughly $17,000. Now add insurance. The national average for full coverage, $2,150 a year. Over 7 years, $15,050. Now add fuel. The average American spends $3,000 a year on gas. Over 7 years, $21,000. Now add depreciation. A $34,000 car loses roughly 60% of value in 7 years. Residual value, approximately $13,600. Value lost, $20,400 added up. Loan interest, $17,000. Insurance, $15,050. Fuel, $21,000. Depreciation loss, $20,400. Total friction cost, $73,450. That is the real price of the car. Not $34,000, $73,450. And that is the real price you are paying. And that number assumes nothing breaks, nothing gets towed, no at-fault accident surcharges, no deductible events. In Houston, the average commuter drives 27 miles each way. Fuel costs run higher than the national average. The friction cost climbs past $80,000. In Los Angeles, insurance premiums average $2,800 a year. The friction cost exceeds $85,000. In high-cost cities, it climbs even higher. This is not a car payment. This is a second rent, paid to a machine that loses value daily. The Prophet architect knew all of this before you signed. The debt hostage learned it on a Sunday night, 3 years too late. Zara drove off the lot. The car lost 20% of its value. Not over time. In the hour it took to get home, a $34,000 car becomes a $27,200 asset. Immediately, the loan stays at $34,000. That gap is the starting position. Before one payment, before 1 mile, that gap exists from the very beginning. We call a car an asset because it feels like ownership. You have a title, you have keys. It feels like control. But an asset grows, or at least holds its value over time. A car does neither. It is a liability that declines in value every single year with a monthly fee, and a depreciation schedule. Now run the number they will never show you at the dealership. This is the VTI Anchor, $650 a month. Invested in VTI, the Vanguard Total Market Index Fund. Historical average return, 10.5% annualized. Over 84 months, $73,000. That is just the beginning of compounding. Over 10 years, $133,000. The curve starts accelerating. Over 30 years, $1.2 million. The scale becomes hard to comprehend. $1.2 million, that is not the car's price. That is the price of the decision. Measured in the future, it quietly deleted. Now consider what is coming next. The system is not slowing down. The industry is already testing 120-month loans, 10 years of payments, a decade of payments. On a depreciating machine, the average car lasts about 12 years. A 10-year loan ends 2 years before the car dies. If the car survives, you will be paying for something mechanics call end of life. The loan outlives the car's usefulness. The payment survives the value. This is not a financing product. This is a trap with a payment schedule. But Zara doesn't have a real choice. Here is why. Public transit has been cut in most American cities for 60 years straight. The interstate was built with federal money. Urban rail existed before it. A consortium dismantled those systems. Auto companies, tire companies, oil companies in the 1930s and 1940s. Documented history, not theory. The dependency was manufactured. The exit was removed. The choice was eliminated before she was born. That decision was made decades ago. You aren't owning an asset. You are renting a liability and paying for the privilege every single month. The trap is not her spending. The trap is the infrastructure. And the infrastructure was not an accident. It was built this way. We don't name these people to fix them. We name them to see them clearly. The dealer in the $4,000 suit, the lender writing 120-month paper, the Wall Street desk buying Zara's debt by the ton, the pension fund in Oslo, clipping coupons from her $650 payment. These are the architects behind the system. They built a world where walking is a risk, where transit is a memory, where a car becomes a cage you live inside that you pay to stay in. For 10 years, while it slowly becomes scrap. They built the dependency first, then the product, then the financing, then the laws that protected all three layers. It was never about transportation. It was always about extraction. Here is the rule of enough that defines the entire system. Enough transportation to get to work. Not enough equity to stop working. Enough credit to qualify. Not enough margin to breathe. Enough stability to keep paying. Not enough freedom to ever stop. That is the geometry of the trap. Precise, engineered. Profitable, the towns without trains. The highways without shoulders. A broken car means a missed shift. A missed shift means a lost job. That entire geometry of dependency and risk was deliberately designed. Zara isn't a mistake. She is the fuel that powers it. The system isn't broken. It is finished. And it is hungry. The garage door is closing. The lights are off in the showroom. The salesperson has gone home already. The lender has sold your file onward. The hedge fund is closed for the quarter. But the system keeps running. And somewhere, a 28-year-old is signing a 120-month contract tonight. It's time to step outside of it.